Welcome to Iona's Iotas, where the tiniest change can make the biggest difference. Today I am joined by actress, comedienne, director, writer and voice coach Kirsty Strain. Welcome, Kirsty.
Hi, nice to see you.
You too. Kirsty, you and I have had the joy of working together on many projects back in my costume and wardrobe days. But I first saw you in Burniston in the hit comedy sketch show in Scotland called Burniston. And my favourite episode of all time is 2 litre bottles of ginger. And it's just hilarious. And I feel like I'm channeling your character. So it's a brilliant episode. I'm going to put the link to underneath this video for everyone to watch. It's a classic. So welcome, Kirsty. It's really nice to speak to you.
It's really nice to speak. It's really nice to speak to you too. I mean, God, that's from series 1. That's going back a bit, and people still quote that at me because there was a line in it where I turn around and I go, "What kind of snatch?" And people just quote that line at me randomly and send me DMs with that in it, and it's mad that that's from over 10 years ago now.
No way.
Showing my age a little bit.
That's
but
mad.
yeah.
10 years ago. And just for anyone who is not from Scotland watching, what does snash mean?
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Like
wee
bit of cheek. Yeah.
A wee bit of back chat. Yeah, brilliant. Love it. So good. So Kirsty, you have had an amazing career so far, and you've been doing a lot of teaching and coaching and stuff latterly. But what I would love you to do is describe your journey so far. So where you began, your roles, your projects and your passions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just started from childhood, to be honest. I could talk before I could walk. So I was a natural storyteller, and I just was always looking to have fun and finding fun. And I would do impressions and little skits and things like that. And I had a lot of energy as a kid, and I needed somewhere to put that. So I went into youth theatre. I started with Scottish Youth Theatre, and also within my childhood, I was really close to my granddad, and we'd watch a lot of film and television together. He was a real cinephile. He just loved film and television, and I was lucky that he had a really great taste in film and television. So I was exposed to all kinds of stuff: comedy, drama, stuff from years before, just all the different styles and really great actors and comedians and things like that. And it just was like magic. It just kind of took me over, and it was like, people do this for a job, so that was kind of what I wanted to do. I just kind of knew that's just seemed natural to kind of go into that area. And so eventually I did get to go to college and study and train, and I started at Langside College and then moved from there, and my training kind of progressed. My first job was whilst I think it was just before my first year of college, or whilst I was in my first year of college, and it was a short film directed by Andy Goddard, who's gone on to direct some really amazing things. And I just was so excited because Karen Dunbar was in it, and another actress called Jenny McCrindle. Now, Jenny McCrindle I had seen in Looking After Jojo, and I thought she was one of the most incredibly gifted, talented actresses, just amazing. So for me to just be there and watch them work, and she was in fact really, really nice to me and really, really welcoming, and it was just a brilliant first experience to have. And then I just carried on with my training, bit of life stuff in between, and then my first professional job when I came, because I trained in New York as well, and when I came back was actually Taggart, which was a terrific first job to get when you out of drama school, because it's the Scottish staple, and it was finishing up, it was coming to an end, and so to get in and be at episode 99, and there were a lot of great actors in that episode actually, so I was really, really lucky to be part of that. And then I just went on to work in different film and television, and then Burniston came along, which ran for 3 series, and then we've done one-off specials since then, and then other bits and bobs of television. And so that, in terms of my professional work, has been, in terms of an actor, that's kind of what I've been doing. And then of course other things have happened along the way, because I worked with I've worked with a lot of writer-directors, and I've worked on a lot of independent film, and that's because I started to develop a real interest in writing and directing, and writer-directors really inspire me and fascinate me. And when you're getting to work with real talent, you're getting to observe how they work. For me, that's been a real privilege. So that then led me to write and direct my own short film a few years ago, and it had a nice wee run at festivals. It kind of all snowballed and just kind of happened. A bit like my voice coaching, which kind of just snowballed and happened because that was a random, inadvertent thing of I had the training, but it wasn't something that I particularly was overly interested in. But then I was asked to work with a young actor on an American accent. That went really well. They recommended me to someone else, and then was recommended to someone else. And then I was like, well, why don't I actually, you know, I know what I'm doing here. Why don't I just, you know, set up a website? And it was a bit like Field of Dreams. You know, if you build it, they will come, because I've done no advertising. I literally built a website. And since then, my student intake has just grown and grown and grown. And I keep saying, oh, there'll probably come a point I'll need to advertise. And it's not happened yet. And I work with a number of different people from all kinds of backgrounds, working on vocal production, accent and dialect coaching, presentation skills training, accent softening and elocution. And it's really been more frequent in the last year, and I've really learned a lot about myself in the process as well, and just working with different people from all kinds of different backgrounds. And yeah, I do really enjoy it, and it is just another area, and it's kind of nice that everything I do lends itself to each other. They're all parts of the same creative process in a way, and they're all about, I think for me, they're all about using your voice in different ways of expressing yourself. And ultimately, as a kid, that's what I was like, hugely expressive. And I think that's the thing I've learned about everything that I'm currently doing, is that it's a form of expression in one way or another. It deals with expression in one way or another. So yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell. I hope I've summed that up okay.
Kirsty, like that, the ability to express yourself, I think, is very much needed, certainly now, and for women over the past, well, certainly in my lifetime, has been for me an issue, because I always grew up very quiet and I lacked a lot of confidence and self-esteem, and expressing myself, I found a bit of a difficulty expressing myself. And it's really fascinating when I meet people who had that opposite experience, you know, and just finding out what they went through in their early years, you know, how they were encouraged and things like that, what it was that really encouraged them to be able to have that voice and that expression, and that kind of nurturing or nurturing or whatever it was that was for you. So I mean, in terms of, so your grandfather, if you lived in Glasgow, because I know Glasgow is it certainly had the most cinemas in Scotland, and it might have even been Europe. It was called Cinema City at one point, because there were so many cinemas in the city of Glasgow. And obviously your granddad became a fan of the cinema. So was it really was it kind of watching and observing and playing with that idea of expression and storytelling for you that you kind of like gave you that wee?
For me, it was something that came really naturally. I was just immediately expressive. That just was inherent in me and my nature. And it's interesting how I kind of feel like I've gone full circle, because certain things happen in my life, and I went the other way for a long time in my life, and I wasn't able to be as expressive, and I didn't express myself, and it was almost like I lost my voice and I lost myself for a lengthy period of time, and went into what wasn't my natural state of being. And so to be at this point in my life where I feel like I've gone from the way I was as a child to go through certain life experiences and life circumstances which made me kind of lose myself and lose my voice and all of that sense of expression and play, to come back out on the upswing of all of that and come around to being wholly expressive and working in completely expressive fields, to me is just been a wondrous kind of, that's where I'm kind of at the moment, is this sort of wondrous full circle moment. Because my experiences with my granddad weren't in movie theatres, they were at home. I became unwell as a child, and my mum and dad had to work, and so my time was spent with my grandparents, and I would just sit with them on the couch, and he would put on whatever he thought would be good for me to see and good for me to watch. So it was just through his living room television that I got this lifeline and this exploration into other worlds, and I could see all of that expression still carrying on, whilst not quite being able to be as expressive as I once was for quite some time. So it's kind of nice now to kind of be on the other side of that, to being back to the essence of who I really am, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, wonderful. And the fact that would you say that it was quite transportive for you then, like that, you know, if you weren't able to do certain things because of your health at a young age, you were able to do it in your imagination through watching things and immersing yourself in that environment?
Oh, completely. And it made me kind of realize the power of story, you know, that you get transported into these other worlds, and, you know, you'd get entertainment, but you'd also get, you know, moved to feel all kinds of different things. You'd be taken on completely different journeys and opened up to worlds that you had never seen before. And it was the one sort of saving grace in my life for quite a long time, really. And then in myself, I was like, I want to be a part of that whenever possible. I want to be on the other side of this, doing what they're doing and being a part of that, because it's connection at the end of the day. I think there's a huge aspect of connection within it. It can be quite unifying as well. And it can make you feel seen, and it can make you feel heard, and it can make you feel represented. But it can also educate you and inform you, and it can make you laugh and cry and all kinds of different things. And it's that's the thrill of it, I think.
Absolutely. So, Kirsty, you've been in a lot of Scottish productions and British productions like Taggart and Outlander, and Doctors and things like that. So but now you're doing the voice coaching. So would you say that you have kind of set aside the acting and the writing and stuff like that for a while?
No, never set it aside. No way. No, but I've got bills to pay. And, you know, you're a jobbing actor. So what you're going to do in between acting work, you're going to, you know, but what's happened really is in the last year, sort of, my circumstances changed, and so I had to really up my game, especially financially. And so it was a case of, I'll dive into this toolkit that I have and I'll use it. And then what I found was how helpful it was to the people that I was working with. It was helping them with certain things that they wanted to work on. And so there was a real joy in that exchange. And I do really enjoy it, and I do get a lot out of it, because I love working with people, and I love that it is helpful.
The voice coaching.
Yeah, and it is helpful. I mean, I don't know if it's simply because of the way in which I teach, you know, but the response I'm getting from the students that stick with me and seeing their progress, that's really thrilling and exciting in itself. And it's really wonderful to be of service in that way and to be useful. But at the same time, I will always have my eye on work. I will always have my eye on storytelling. I will always have my eye on acting and performing. And also, you know, I'm still a jobbing actor. I still do auditions, self-tapes, available completely for all of that. And I have another script that I'm eking out. Like, it got left for a while just because life comes along and asks other things of you. But again, things are starting to settle in a nice way. So I'm back to the script again, because I'd love to direct another one of my short film scripts. And kind of push forward with that as well. So I think for me, I'll always be wanting to be part of storytelling in whatever way I possibly can. So acting is still always very much at the forefront of my mind and at the forefront of my motivation. But at the same time, in between that, if I'm being of service and I'm helping people and the feedback is positive, then I'm more than delighted to keep doing that at the same time.
Brilliant. So see, in terms of your voice coaching and things like that, do you ever kind of coach people who are perhaps having a little bit of trouble finding their voice, or do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because most people, when they come to a voice coach, they come very much thinking from a technical point of view of I don't like the tone of my voice, or I want to work on my accent, I need to soften my accent, or whatever it is. But so much of the voice is wrapped up in identity and expression, and because it comes of yourself, mind, body, spirit are all connected. And so as we start to go through the process of changing things, because what it is we're doing is shifting habitual placement. Speech is habit forming and it's physical in nature, and so we're shifting placement, we're shifting habitual speech habits. It's basically a process that you have to work with yourself. And especially when I do the breath work, it's really interesting because everything starts with breath and connection. And most people, and I've discovered that most people are disconnected. Most people are living in their heads the whole time. Most people are living from here. So they're either chest breathing, or their voice is locked in their throat. So they don't use the diaphragm at all. And it's interesting, we hold our emotions in our body. And so part of the process, particularly with vocal production, we're shifting tone and things like that. Particularly with that, when we go into diaphragmatic breath and moving into the belly breathing, what you're doing, because I also do a lot of Alexander technique, you're also, because relaxation is key, even if it's just for articulation, relaxation is key to the process. And what happens is when people release for the first time in however long, because some people are not even aware of how much they're holding, their shoulders are coming up, or they lead from their head, they lead from their chest. When they connect to breath for the first time and they connect to center, so I've had people who've had a wealth of emotion come up through them unexpectedly, and they've sort of said to me, I came to you to deal with a vocal thing, I don't understand what's happening here. And it's simply because of that, we store our emotions in our body, and if you've been disconnected, what you're doing by going into that diaphragmatic breathing, by releasing and letting go and finding relaxation, all of that which you've been holding on to has got to go somewhere. And it's also very overwhelmingly, it's very peaceful. And when you can breathe from there and feel that, you have breath support, it grounds you in a way in which you haven't been grounded if you've been operating from breathing from the chest, or you've been living in your head. And so these shifts start to occur. And some people are prepared and say, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but I'm willing to. This is great. This is in fact, this is more profound than I was expecting. This is going to not only change my voice, but it's going to change the way I live and the way I relate to myself. But some people are not ready for it. And some people are like, that's too much emotion for me. I wasn't expecting that to come from this. I came to you for something, but it's of yourself. And also, as you change how you sound, you've identified with your own sound, whether you like it or not. You've obviously come to me because you don't like it and you want to change something. But when the new sound comes out, or when they do things in a way that they express something, it's a revelation. I didn't know my voice could do that. I didn't know I could sound like that. I didn't know I could speak like that. And again, that's surprising. And so it is a process, but a lot of people in the beginning, I kind of realized that, I didn't realize just how much disconnect there was going on, and how the voice is of the self. So we're going to come up against our feelings and emotions alongside. And so the first couple of things that I say to people when they come to work with me is, we take judgment and we leave it out, we throw it away. Judgment is not helpful. It brings in tension, it brings in frustration, it's negative. It's not helpful for the work. So we get rid of judgment and we bring in awareness, because we have to have awareness of your current placement in order to be able to shift it. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that relaxation is key to everything, because we need to promote flexibility and range of movement, particularly in articulation. So if you're holding, I mean, some people come in and they have tremendous jaw tension, or they're using their tongue in a particular way that's not allowing space inside the mouth. And what that does is, if you're not relaxing, we can't shift the placement properly. And so it's a process. And so relaxation is really key to that process also. And then the other thing that I say to them is that it's a very, very safe space that they work in with me, and that I'll never ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, because, you know, I'm used to the work. But when someone new comes to the process and they're not from a performance background, you know, actors take to it much quicker because they're used to using of themselves. But non-actors who come to work with me, they're not used to the process. They don't know what to expect. They're very nervous. They're very self-conscious. And it's about putting them at ease. It's really important. And particularly a lot of the articulators exercises, they can probably feel quite silly to a non-performer. You know, what are you getting me to do with my lips and my cheeks and my tongue here? What's going on? What is this for? So it's been really brilliant for me in a lot of ways, because I've got to work with different people from different backgrounds with different vocal issues, and it's kind of benefited me as much as it's benefited them, because I've learned how to work with different people of different personality types, different natures, different issues, because it's all got to be very, very bespoke. It's one-to-one. So I have to tailor sessions to specifically suit each individual that I work with, because their placement will be different to someone else's, their experience will be different to someone else's, the way they process information will be different to someone else. Some people are very audio, some people are very visual, some people are kinesthetic. I have to know what they're like. I have to adapt my teaching methods to suit their needs. Some people like video guides, some people like audio guides, some people love the worksheets. It's different for everyone. I try to keep it as practical as possible, because it's very practical in nature. So I try to stay away from the theoretical aspects of it as much as possible, but they have to have the information to support the practice. So that's kind of that in a nutshell, in a way.
Well, I mean, and that will be completely helping your projects and work as an actress and writer and director yourself as well, because you'll now be able to perform in a way after seeing how other people, you know, in terms of character, I guess, does that help, like, you know, seeing how people are, seeing how people, you know, the tension that they have, or the release that they have. Because I know certainly when I teach meditation, when people start to breathe, the release that they have, emotional release, is just, it's so amazing to watch, and it's so amazing for them to have as well, because most people have, you're right, most people do kind of live from this region, and then as soon as you start tapping into the lower kind of, you know, the gut and the heart and the lower kind of like energy centers, it really sparks a person and they find their identity. So, and obviously your job as an actress is to study identities and really like use identity to create personas and things like that. And then as a director as well, you are seeking and looking at all these different actors and performers who have their own different identities. So all this teaching and this practice of your voice coaching will be, no doubt, completely leveling you up to become an amazing director and writer and actress as well yourself. And I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited, and I have absolutely no doubt that you don't need to advertise for your voice coaching, because even what you're telling me there, I'm like, I need a session with Kirsty.
No, I mean, it's been a real eye-opener for me. I mean, It really, really has. It's been a privilege actually to get to know people in this way and to be of help to them and to take people through a process and a journey from start to finish and see their progression and see how they change and see how they relate to themselves and see how they find their voice, because ultimately that's what they're there to do. The majority of them, yes, I work with actors on accents and dialects, of course, yes, I do that, but I also work with people who are there to find their voice that they have lost at some point. They speak a certain way, they feel that that's not the truth of who they are, they feel that they want to change something for whatever reason. And when you see them arrive, because it's all, I talk about that a lot, I said you don't try to master, you don't try to conquer the placements, you arrive through process motivation, not result motivation, because a result is an inevitability, it's born out of process. So you have to be process motivated in order to arrive. So when you see people really arrive, you know, at the placement, at their voice, and it comes out of them, it's beautiful because you can see how authentically part of them that is. And that's been a real privilege. And I think taking all of that experience into what I do as an actor is just I have much more respect and understanding of people in general. And so from that point of view, then yeah, I mean, it's with stories in general, if we go back to storytelling, it's made up of, it's born out of a collaborative process with a wide range of people. From you, yes, you have the writer and then you have the director, but if it's a film, you have a whole crew and a whole cast, and everybody's integral to that process. If it's theatre, it's the same thing. It's a company, and so it's the whole story is only what it is because of every single person that's involved. So it's hugely collaborative, and I think for me, I have with the voice coaching and working with multiple, you know, different types of people, going back into television, going back into film, going back into theatre, and working with large groups of people again, I only have more excitement for it, more joy for it, more like, I love people. I just love working and collaborating and being a part of something. It's being a part of something, you know, and it's that connection, it's that kind of marriage of everyone's talents and everyone's abilities all coming together to serve this story that then connects and lands with an audience and then goes out into the world and has legs and life and all of that. And then you hear people chit-chatting about whatever that is. Did you see that? You've got to see it. Oh, it's magic. You hear these conversations all the time. Oh, you've got to watch that show. It's bloody brilliant. Have you seen that? Oh, that's terrific. And you see it in people. I don't know why they're all, you know, just made them all right for Glasgow, but fair enough. But at the end of the day, that's kind of, yeah, I think that's why I love every aspect of what I do, because, you know, I get to work with all different kinds of people.
I love it, Kirsty, it's brilliant. So would you say that's your main inspiration then? Having
Connection.
that connection, yeah.
Connection is the, yeah, and what's life without connection?
Totally.
You're what are you if it's just you and there's no connection? Brené Brown talks about that a lot, about the importance of connection and how we need it, and how it's just as important as breathing. And I really agree with that. You know, I think it is one of my main motivating factors in life, is that there's just something really wonderful about connection.
What else inspires you?
Lots of things. I think I'm really inspired by people who are really authentically themselves. You can see it right away in a person. They're really just authentically, unashamedly, unapologetically, this is who I am. I find that really inspiring, because I think there was a lengthy period of my life where I struggled with that. I struggled with low self-worth for a very, very long time, and I was a people pleaser, and I just wanted And it didn't, I always looked for approval outside myself because I can never give myself approval, but at the same time, whenever that approval came, I didn't believe it anyway. So it was a constant, never-ending vicious circle. So there was nothing authentic or honest about me for a lengthy period of my life, and it was all because of low self-worth. So obviously I've worked on that massively, and that's changed.
What was your process for doing that? Like, what did you do to help with that?
The first thing I did was I went into therapy, and I went into therapy for about a year solidly, because I knew how much it was inhibiting and limiting my life, and I was deeply unhappy, and I felt it was important to do that. And then what I realised about therapy was it was interesting, because I'd been in therapy before, but this time it was really my choice to go and to invest of myself in that. But I still was very naive at the start, because I thought, I'm going to go here, and after a certain length of time, I'm sorted, man. It'll all be fixed. It'll be sorted out. And what I learned at the end of the year was, oh, it's an ongoing thing. So you're just giving me some tools, helping me gain some insight, and then I've got to go off and do this by myself every single day. And then it becomes this little negotiation. And the more you do that self-work, self-care, self-love practice, the more, because it's like we're talking about habitual placement with the voice, this is a habitual belief system. This is something that's ingrained that you then have to negotiate with, because it's in your subconscious by this point. So you lead with that. Because it's in your subconscious, you lead with not good enough, not worthy, piece of crap. Like, you just lead with, I mean, the way I used to speak to myself, horrific. If you heard someone else speaking, someone like that, you'd be like, get away from that person. But you can't do that with this. And so it's a process of negotiating with that belief system. And you have to fact check what that self-talk is saying. Where's the basis of fact? You have to look for, how is this helpful or not helpful? And what I'm learning now, fascinatingly, because I'm reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, is that the majority of us identify with our mind, and we think we are our mind, and we're not. The brain is just a tool inside our body. And so that's really wonderful when you realize that you are not your mind, you're not your thoughts, and you can then observe your thoughts, you can then observe that self-talk, and you can negotiate with it, basically. And so the breakthrough has definitely come for me, I think, because I no longer have that belief system. I no longer lead with apology as I walk into a room. I no longer question everything I do a million times a day. And the energy that I have now, because that's all energy. That's all energy that you're worrying constantly. The mind's not switching off. Why did you say that? And what did you do that for? And they're going to think this. And reading the email about 20 times before you send it. And all. None of that now. It's gone, man. It's so liberating. It's like, I write an email. I'm lucky if I do proofread it, because you should always proofread your email. But it's a quick proofread for spell check. It's not to give myself a hard time. And it's just about that. It's about, I lead with the truth of who I am. I can only give what I realistically have to give, and I look after myself. Because one thing I've also realized, if I don't have a good relationship with myself, how can I possibly have a good relationship with anyone else? Because you're doubting everything, you're questioning everything, you're strict. It's no good. It's not helpful at all. So if it doesn't serve you and the other person, what are you doing? And I think those are the things that I lead with now. I think I just lead with the truth of who I am, and I always make sure at the same time there's a difference between being helpful because you genuinely care and you want to be helpful, and people pleasing. Because people pleasing is when you sacrifice yourself, when you throw yourself under the bus just to make someone else happy. Whereas being helpful is being loving towards yourself and being loving towards another person at the same time. And so that shift in my life, that breakthrough, has opened my life up in ways that I could never have imagined, really. It's changed the way I work as an actor as well, because honestly, I don't question every choice I make. I don't question every meeting I have. I don't, you know, which is what I was doing before. And it's death to an actor. It's death to creativity to be doubting yourself constantly, to be so insecure. And of course, what I would do is I would pretend to the world that I was this massively confident person. So that was one of the things my therapist said to me. She said, so you play a role to play a role. So you're not putting yourself in the role, you're putting a role on, and then you're applying that role to the role. And I'm like, yeah, it's exhausting, right? And she's like, it's really exhausting. So I don't do any of that now. This is it. What you see is what you get. You know, I can't, you know, it's just amazing because the conversations flow so much better, life flows so much better, and I don't get that horrible anxious sweat anymore, that horrible little tingle underneath my ears and the watery mouth and the before I do anything, like pick up the phone, can't breathe, none of that. All anxiety gone, just gone. And it's party time, and it's party time for me, you know. So, but it's important. It's really important to anyone who feels that way and goes through those things. You owe it to yourself, you know. And the past is the past. The past is gone, and you owe it to yourself, no matter who you are. Everyone deserves to feel that they're worthy of love and belonging, that they're worthy of connection.
Absolutely, and it's so exciting to see, Kirsty. Like, I'm so thrilled for you because I've known you for a few years now, certainly, and just getting to know you even more over the past year or two is so exciting and fun to watch you. And I'm like, yes, go girl, go. Like, it's brilliant. I love it so much. And that like, you talk about that creativity, that always questioning yourself, always doubting yourself. Like, you now are in touch with your instinct, and you're in touch with your inner being now. You have that flow coming, that well-being coming to you, like, even though you might not be well all the time, but at least you know that you can always go back to that and have that creative, the instinct, and the lack of, you know, the self-doubt and all the kind of stuff that, like, it's an energy that pulls us down. It's a force that, like, pulls us down and brings us down and makes us small. And nobody, like, I don't want to be like that anymore. No, you don't want to be like that anymore. So, and as well, talking about the therapy thing, like, about how, like, so many people are outcome driven. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're driven by the end result. And what I've learned over the past couple of years being in business, working on my own businesses, my own projects and stuff, is that the most important thing is to do it because you love doing it. Do it for the journey, for the joy of creating, for the joy of doing whatever it is that you want to do, not necessarily about the outcome. Like, if you want to go to therapy because you know that it'll make you feel better, but you just can't wait to get to the stage where you're going to feel better, you're always going to be chasing that.
It's not going to work. First of all, the therapy itself is not going to work because you're not investing in the moment that you're in, you know. So, and I think for me, what I realized is just how many people go around feeling like that and have struggles like that. And ultimately, it's so wearing, it's so draining, it's so limiting. It affects every part of your life. And, you know, it's like I was saying before about, I link the voice coaching a lot to life because a lot of the practices kind of lead to that. I'm always saying, feel it, don't think it, arrive, be process motivated, because as I said before, a result is an inevitability. It's born out of process. So you have the intention, you know where you're going. I have this intention, but I'm not attached to the outcome. Because if I'm attached to that outcome, I become rigid. to the only that, and therefore I'm blinkered, and therefore I miss other potential possibilities that may or may not come up. I can have my intention pointing that way, but you know, anything could happen,
Yeah,
and I've got to be open to that.
totally.
And the way I also look at what I do, I've got heavy into Deepak Chopra as well, and he says the first thing you should ask is, how can I help? Not what's in it for me, but how can I help? How can I be of service? How can I use of myself, and what's helpful? And actually, again, more is born out of that, because again, you're not fixed on yourself, you're not fixed on anything. What's in it for me is ego-driven behavior. But how can I help is of the self, you know, because, and if you can help, why would you not, you know?
Mm.
And I think for me, that's kind of how I look at how is what I do helpful?
Mm-hmm.
And also within that comes great joy.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I love it. So Kirsty, then, what are your plans and goals for the future then?
First of all, I just want to be making sure I'm embracing life every day, you know, that I'm very aware, you know, of life to be lived every day. But ultimately, what do I want to do with the future? I definitely want to write and direct more. I want to do another couple of shorts. I'd love to do a feature as well. I want to keep acting as much as anyone will give me an acting job. I want to get, you know, and progress in that area. And I'm delighted to keep a voice coaching for as long as people are looking for a voice coach and they select me to do that and be a part of that for them. But yeah, I think I definitely want to be part of more stories, definitely want to tell more stories. I want to add my voice to the mix. So I really want to come back to filmmaking and see what happens there. And see what, you never know what life's going to throw at you. That's the thing. I'm open to what might come up. My intention is to keep acting, to go back to writing, make my next film, and to keep teaching in the meantime, and to also enjoy life and do some of the things I've always wanted to do. There are these little lists that I have of things that I've wanted to do, and it's kind of like when the time is right, I'm sure I'll pick them up, you know. But it's a very simple life for me in terms of, I just like going for walks and meditating and, you know, spending time with the people that I love, and conversation, and, you know, reading books, and, you know, watching stuff, because I still love watching stuff just as much. So, you know, it's just all about connection, I think, for me, wherever I'm able to plug in to life and story and all that jazz.
And in terms of where the world is at this time, Kirsty, what are your thoughts and opinions on where society and life is headed?
That's a big question.
It is.
That's the biggest question, because it's scary in some respects, because I think it's all a bit, you know, it's not looking good in a lot of ways.
Well, it depends where you're.
But that's what I mean. It depends on which side of the fence you're on.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, there are issues that should be acknowledged and addressed. And I think if you're not acknowledging certain issues, like you can, because I always do try to look at the positive of everything, and I always try to look at, well, what positive difference can I make in life and in the world and in society and all of that. But I can't just do that, because that would make me passive. I have to be aware. I have to acknowledge this issue exists. You know, this is a problem, and it needs addressed, and it needs awareness, and it needs something done. You know, because I think if you're passive to an issue, you're just as big a part of the problem. You know, and I think, you know, I don't know. I have concerns about particularly this country and the way it is at the minute, the current government. I don't want to go into too much political discussion, but let's just say it
doesn't bode well for the mental health, really, does it, of the state at this time?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been working as a mental health coach now for for years, and I'm busier than I ever have been, which is great because it means more people are talking about mental health, but at the same time more people are struggling. And connection, human connection, is a big part of our health, mental, physically, emotional health, and when you're talking about the problem there, what I like to discuss with people is the concept of consciousness, and how Albert Einstein said that we cannot fix or solve the problem with the same consciousness as we created it. Yeah. So this is one of the main motivations for me starting something like this and doing the YouTube videos, was to really kind of help and assist raise consciousness and awareness that there are things that we can do in ourselves to heal ourselves first, and then it has a ripple out effect. Because do you find that with yourself, since you've started doing a lot of the inner work on yourself over the past few years, your external environment has changed around you, like, on a personal level?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I think energy kind of breeds energy in a way. So because my energy shifted, the people in my life kind of shifted, the things that I became aware of shifted, and I think that is true. I think what it's about, like, we have to focus on certain issues because they are an issue and they are of importance, and some of those issues are life and death, and so, but we can't focus on them with a negative kind of, we have to kind of focus on them going, right, how do we do something about this then? Let's actually make changes. Let's actually do something about it. Yeah, rather than
solution, into the energy of the solution instead of the energy of the problem. Whereas the energy of the solution for many things in Scotland certainly is unity and coming together, and absolutely dinging in, getting rid of anything that has a separatist attitude, and everyone being separate. Like, you're different from me, I'm different from you, you support a different football team, you're a different colour, blah, 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 blah. That, in order for us to raise our consciousness and come together as a society and really solve these problems and be in the energy of the solution, it's coming together. Like, having that community, having that together, that communication, like, people coming together as part of a team to work on a
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these fundamental ignorances come from manipulation of the powers that be. Let's divide and conquer here, and it's spread out of fear. Fear has become a weapon, to be honest, and so. And I think it's very difficult. I understand it's very difficult when you're locked into a certain situation. I mean, I have to acknowledge the privilege that I have. I'm in a privilege where I was able to go into therapy. I'm able to work. I'm able to do certain things. I'm able to make a living. There are many, many people out there who are in real survival mode, where they don't have the privilege of, let me take a moment and find myself here. Do you know what I mean? They're like, where's my next meal coming from? That's what they're doing. Absolutely. And so, and I think if you are coming from a place of privilege, then you've got to look at where you can then apply and be useful in a situation. And I think there are many in real places of privilege who do not operate in that field, particularly at a government level. And I think that that's an issue. Massive issue when there's a lack of empathy, and there's a lack of understanding, and there's a lack of care. There's a lack of due care at a government level that is disgusting. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, to a point of really disgusting. Mm-hmm. And I'm not educated or that anything. I had to leave school in fourth year, didn't really get my standard grades, and had to work my way up from national certificate level and kind of start again. And that was all in the performing arts and then the voice work and everything that I do. So I don't say I'm the most educated of people, and I'm not the most politically knowledgeable, but I do know something is rotten. I just know something stinks at a really high level, where the disparity is just beyond. And
it's a bit Dickensian, really, isn't it? Like, it's 2020 and we're still ducking about like it's the 1860s in a big part of Scotland. And you and I both live in Glasgow, and I live in Ibrox and Govan, and it is, I mean, it's been really interesting to observe the community aspect in this past couple of weeks. A lot of people are spending time out in the back greens and the closes and coming together again, which is absolutely so amazing to see. But there are so many people who are going without, who don't have what's it called, the pay, like what people are getting paid for, furlough, things like that. People don't have that. Like, people aren't able to get their benefits, and people aren't able to go to get their prescriptions. And certainly I work with a large number of over 60s in my creativity and mental health work, and they are getting hit in an unbelievable rate because of the fear and the manipulation and the straight up propaganda. Let's just call it for what it is. Do you know what I mean? On the media, saying that you cannot leave your house or you will die, essentially. And most of the people who I work with, you know, luckily a lot of them have alternative views now. But there is a big percentage who are still in fear and in their homes, and it's just, if only, yeah, what can we do really to get them to kind of click off of that mindset, especially people who've been watching telly for.
I think this is a big part of it. I mean, I tend not to watch a lot. I watch what I need to watch of the news, and I watch what I need to watch of the updates, and I don't let everything else feed in. And the problem is when it really comes en masse, it's been confusing for people, and I think it's been more confusing for people because of the UK government. I think the Scottish government have handled things incredibly well comparative to the main UK government, to be perfectly honest. I think that's just been bizarre.
It's all bizarre. Let's just call it. It's all bizarre.
It's like you're watching an episode of The Thick of It, and you're just like,
yeah, totally.
It's honestly like satire. It's what it feels like.
We're having this conversation, and that's the exciting thing about it for me, is that people are talking about it now. People are having conversations about it, and they're noticing that there has to be a change, and it's affecting everybody now. It's not certain types of people or groups or backgrounds and things. It's everybody that's getting affected. So the fact that we're having this conversation is a huge, do you know what I mean, is a big step in the right direction, which is amazing. So Kirsty, is there anything that you can share with us? Do you have like a daily practice that you do every day to get yourself into the zone, get yourself feeling good?
I've got really specific routines. I meditate every morning for 45 minutes, and I meditate every night for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Now that might seem like a long time. You're like, that's an hour and a half out of your day, but that's like what the length of it's like a feature film kind of average length of time. So why not, if I'm going to watch a film? Because for me, I started off, do you know what, it started off at 15 minutes in the morning, and that was it, and then it just got more and more and more. And the benefits to me of doing it, I find it so beneficial, the health benefits, the emotional benefits. It really like connects me in. It's a brilliant way to start the day and end the day, really. So that's my main routine. And then within that, just everything else. I walk every day, 5k every day.
Wow, so that's amazing.
I've been doing that for the last 8 weeks. That's my one, because you're allowed one scheduled walk a day, and so I go and I do that 5k every day, and it's just become something that I have to do. I can't not do it. So no matter what my schedule is with anything else, I have to get out and I have to do that walk. So those are my two main things that I think, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on, I'm always going to meditate and I'm always going to walk now, for sure.
So when you meditate, is it as soon as you wake up in the morning, or do you have like a dedicated time that you do it at, or is it literally just wake up?
It's pretty much first thing in the morning and then last thing at night. Okay. So upon waking and then just before sleeping. I just think it's the best way to start the day and then end the day.
And do you find that your day flows a lot better? You find yourself, what's the benefits for you, like firsthand, that you can see from meditating?
Definitely, I get a much better night's sleep. So I sleep really well. I feel really rested. My energy levels go up, and my creativity, just my overall general emotional well-being is smoother. I problem solve a lot better because I'm starting to, even more with Eckhart Tolle now, I'm like, there are no problems, because there are only things that occur, and then you decide. I mean, that's not quite his voice, but ultimately he basically says, and I quite like this, is like, things occur and you deal with it. It's your mind that says it's a problem. So I kind of look at things that way now. This is just what's occurring and I have to deal with it. And acceptance is great, because if you accept where you are and then take responsibility for it, then you can work towards what you want to do with whatever the situation is. So all these little tools, I feel like I'm starting to have this little sort of change of approach to how I go about my life and my day, and how I communicate and how I deal with myself and all of that kind of stuff. It shifts all kinds of things all over the place. It shifts the way you work, it shifts the way you communicate, it shifts your relationships, it shifts your overall health and well-being, in so many ways. So yeah.
And do you have music? Is there a guided meditation that you listen to, or do you just sit in silence? What's your practice?
There's two. I have a very specific guided meditation for physical healing, which has been really important to me and really, really useful. And then I do my second meditation, which is, I've been going through all the Deepak Chopra series, different ones, because I had a bunch of them from before, and I've been going through them, and what they're good for is they give you intentions for the day, and they again are very good at helping you developing relationship with yourself. And I also studied transcendental meditation, so I work with that as well. So it's a lot of meditate, it's a lot of within. Yeah. But I think see, at the end of the day, you can do it without these guys. There's ones online for absolute free. You've got a good few going now, and they're great. And this is what I want to say to people about it. There are ways to do these things not cost you a thing. For free, for absolute free. You can meditate for free. You can do yoga for free. You can go for a walk, find somewhere, a park somewhere, and walk around it for free. I'm a cheap date. I tell you, everything I love is free. Everything I love to do is absolute free. Do you know what I mean? So I'm the cheapest date going. But it's true. Meditation, yoga, walking, reading a book. If you can't afford to buy a book, you can go to the library and get one for free. These are good things to do, and they're absolutely free, and they make a difference to your life. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm one of these annoying clean people now. I eat clean, everything's clean. Oh, her and her vegan hippie vegetables.
No.
But
you look amazing, and I'm sure you feel amazing.
I feel great. I mean, my treat to myself now is a wee tub of hummus. Wee tub of hummus and an oat cake. That's my treat. But I love it. It's great.
That's amazing, Kirsty. So how can people find you if they want to find out more about what you do, like your acting, your directing, your voice coaching, things like that? Where can they find you?
Well, I have the Field of Dreams website that I built, and then they came, which is just my name, kirstystrain.com. And most of that relates to the voice coaching. There is a couple of pages there that let people know what I do as an actor as well. And people can follow me on Twitter. Again, it's just my name, Kirsty Strain, and I've got an Instagram, Kirsty Strain. It's just my name. Just go and find my name, and it'll be there for you. Don't confuse me with Kirsty Swain. She's brilliant, but she's exceptionally talented. I love her, but we have similar names, you see. She's a writer, and you should watch her stuff because she's brilliant. So she wrote Pure, which anybody should go and watch. She's a very talented writer. She's one of those where I go, we've got similar names, and I wish I was as talented. She's really brilliant. But yeah.
You need to do some reprogramming there.
Oh no, I just compliment somebody else. It's important to compliment other people you admire as well.
Absolutely. But you are also unbelievably talented, so just, you know, get that going, like, get that going. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. I'm talented. Come find me.
Truth, girl. Awesome. Right, Kirsty, any final words before we close this interview?
I just hope that people are taking care of themselves as much as we possibly can, and taking care of other people. You know, if you see someone out there that needs help, lend an ear, lend a hand. Know that there are, and if you're on the other side of it, don't be afraid to reach out either. Talking is important. Communication is important. If you're sitting there struggling, do not suffer in silence. You know, reach out and take care of yourself and each other. I think that's it.
So true, Kirsty. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy, a pleasure to chat with you. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Yay. Great. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.